That's a valid point. Getting into my next topic, I know you spoke a little bit about depression, and I recently seen on your page actually about the suicide rates for Black men
Yeah.
being higher than any other in any racial group.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's a variety of things that plays into that right now. I think we mentioned one of them with accessibility, right? Like a lot of us don't have accessibility to mental health resources, but there's also another big thing which we talked about earlier, which is just a taboo when it comes to mental health, right? A lot of us don't feel like we can have these kind of conversations about where we are mentally, about not feeling like we are up to par. And so that kind of festers and creates this snowball effect where you get into this depression, right? And I always tell people like, a lot of people don't understand suicide. I've had suicidal ideations before when I was younger, so I understand it to a certain degree, right? I haven't had suicide attempts, but I've definitely had suicidal ideation. So I understand the mindset that an individual is in when they are contemplating suicide. Um, Suicide is a solution, right? A lot of people don't like to have that conversation, but that is what people deem it to be. Suicide is a solution for people that are dealing with something that they feel like is too heavy for them to actually be able to come out of, right? And so the solution is to end it all because I don't have the tools to be able to actually navigate this stress or anxiety or depression that I'm dealing with, right? And so once we can understand suicide from that aspect, we can understand why people decide to die by suicide and then also understand what we can do in order to help them, right? And that's why I try to lead by solutions, right? Like try to make a solution-based thinking. Okay, you're depressed. Why are you depressed? What's actually happening? And then how can we help you out of that, right? So I think the one of the big reasons, like I said, is just accessibility, affordability, and then also the fact that it's very taboo in our culture for us to be talking about mental health. And then what Black men specifically, bro, like we don't feel like we are allowed to be human. That is a big thing, bro. Like that is a huge thing, bro. It's a huge thing. Like I even experienced it myself, and I talk about mental health all the time, right? Like the other day, last week, um, I had a moment where I lashed out on my brother, right? Because I was dealing with mad stress throughout the week, IG, all these different things. I'm trying to launch this community. All these things going on, and so I lashed out on my brother towards the end of the week because the stress was just building up, building up, building up. I didn't feel like I had a moment throughout the week where I was just allowed to be human and actually feel that I was stressed and take some time away from all the things that I was doing.
Right.
I didn't humanize myself to say, okay, yo, bro, you know what? You're going through a lot. Like, just take some time and slow down. I didn't allow myself to do that. And I knew I was stressed. I remember saying to myself, like, yo, bro, you super stressed right now. Like, you need to put something down. But I still didn't do it. Right. And I also, after I lashed out, I was so upset at myself because in my mind, I'm like, bro, you lead this platform. How you lashing out on your brother? I'm not even allowing myself to be human after I lashed out because I'm thinking to myself, you should have never done that. Right. I'm not giving myself grace. I'm not empathizing, any of that. All the things that I'm telling people to do, I'm struggling doing it with myself, right? And so when you think about it from that lens, it's just hard for us, right? It's hard for us to humanize ourselves. It's hard for us to understand that we are human beings and we're allowed to, one, make mistakes. We're allowed to not be where we want to be. We're allowed to be different than other people. We're allowed to feel our full range of emotions, and we're allowed to be struggling, right? And I think that's the biggest part of it is like we don't feel like we're allowed to be in any of these states. And so because of that, we don't reach out, we don't have these conversations. And as a result of that, we end up getting into a depressed state. And unfortunately, a lot of us end up getting into a position where we feel like suicide is the best option and the solution for what we're dealing with.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't put two and two together until you did say that. But you know, obviously we have a lot of Black men are going through that stress and depression in their lives, and they feel the need to cope with, whether it's drugs or like when you listen to rappers nowadays and they start to say like I have these suicidal thoughts or like I'm really going through a lot. And people are just saying, oh, well, he's on some like, just emo, whatever the case is. But a lot of these Black men and rappers are going through this, and maybe this is one way for them to vent themselves, maybe through the music or do the drugs, everybody's popping some type of drugs or alcohol, like, and like when I seen that, it caught me off guard, but I wasn't surprised about that stat. And I'm just like, the fact about us not being able to be human, it does play a factor because there's so much stress put on us to either succeed or be in a level or be in a position where we'll be able to support everybody financially. So we got to work twice as harder.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Take on extra shifts, extra hours. I know men like ourselves, we work, we got the podcast, but we work plenty of hours.
This is not supporting.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's just, not yet, hopefully.
Yet.
You know what I mean? But,
eventually, absolutely.
But, you know, I still try to take that time out to go to the gym. And, you know, I think, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, I think a lot of black men do have these suicidal thoughts. And I know people, I know people that I was close to that actually took their lives from suicide. And then you would never think like, yo, like their lives looked perfect on the outside. You never know what people are going through on the inside. And I'm just like, wow, they really did that. Like it caught me off guard because they never expressed that, like, you know, they was going through something. So, you know, that's a big topic to kind of have.
Yeah, I also think that a lot of men are afraid to look weak. Like sometimes you the rock of your family. 'Cause I know me personally, everybody come to me to talk, but it's like, who does that person talk to at the end of the day? So you got to have a outlet to express your feelings without feeling like you're being judged. I think that's the most important thing. Like you don't want to be judged or look weak in front of other people. So it's good to have like bros you could talk to or anybody really. I mean, but that's why therapy is important, I believe.
No, that's a fact. Yeah, you definitely got to talk to a therapist and have spaces where we all feel comfortable expressing ourselves. That's a big thing, bro.
That's